Hello everyone, this is Slave of Jesus Christ, and the topic of study is Daniel chapter 7, the four beasts and the little horn. So we'll start with the vision of the four beasts, which are four kings. In the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream and visions of his head while on his bed. Then he wrote down the dream, telling the main facts. Daniel spoke, saying, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the four winds of heaven were stirring up the great sea. And four great beasts came up from the sea, each different from another. The first was like a lion, and had eagle's wings. I watched till its wings were plucked off, and it was lifted up from the earth, and made to stand on 2 feet like a man, and a man's heart was given to it. So this lion with 2 wings was King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon, who was a proud, boastful, angry king who was humbled by God. His kingdom was swift, that's why he had wings like an eagle. But, as described in Daniel chapter 4, he was humbled and was given the heart of a man. And suddenly another beast, a second, like a bear. It was raised up on one side and had 3 ribs in its mouth between its teeth. And they said thus to it, Arise, devour much flesh. So this beast would be King Cyrus of Persia. His kingdom was comprised of 2, that was the Medes and the Persians. The Medes start out as the greater of the 2 kingdoms, and then later Persia became the greater and swallowed up the known world from Greece to the Indus River in India, down into the kingdom of Kush. After this I looked, and there was another, like a leopard, which had on its back 4 wings of a bird. The beast also had 4 heads, and dominion was given to it. So this leopard would be Alexander the Great. He's seen with 4 heads because he has 4 generals who takes over the kingdom after his death, and they therefore divide up the kingdom among themselves into those 4 parts. He has 4 wings because just as Babylon was swift, the kingdom of Greece would be exceedingly swift and would swallow up the territory of Persia, so they would rule from Greece to the Indus River in India, down into Egypt. But they didn't go as far as Kush. After this I saw in the night visions, and behold, a 4th beast, dreadful and terrible, exceedingly strong. It had huge iron teeth. It was devouring, breaking in pieces, and trampling the residue with its feet. It was different from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. So this 4th beast would be the same beast described in Revelation chapters 17 and 13, who starts out in Revelation chapter 17 with a woman riding on his back. That would be representing the great city that will reign over the kings of the earth. Those kings also will come to hate the woman and kill her in one day, and then give their authority to the beast. And so therefore he has the 10 horns representing those 10 kings. I was considering the horns, and there was another horn, a little one, coming up among them, before whom 3 of the first horns were plucked out by the roots. And there in this horn were eyes like the eyes of a man, and a mouth speaking pompous words. So the actions of this little horn can be seen in Revelation chapter 13, because the beast and the little horn would be the same person. So in chapter 13, it describes the pompous words that he'll speak, and he'll also have a blasphemous name written on his head. And so there he's exalting himself as high as God himself. I watched till thrones were put in place, and the Ancient of Days was seated. His garment was white as snow, and the hair of his head was like pure wool. His throne was a fiery flame, its wheels a burning fire. This, of course, would be Jesus Christ, the judge of the living and the dead, as described in Revelation chapter 6 verses 12 through 17 and Revelation chapter 20 verses 11 through 15. A fiery stream issued and came forth from before him. 1,000 thousands ministered to him. 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him. The court was seated, and the books were open, as also described in Revelation chapter 20 verses 11 through 15. I watched then because of the sound of the pompous words which the horn was speaking. I watched till the beast was slain, and its body destroyed and given to the burning flame. As for the rest of the beasts, they had their dominion taken away, yet their lives were prolonged for a season and a time, as opposed to the beast whose life is immediately cut off, as described in Revelation chapter 19 verse 20. That's when the beast and his false prophet are cast into the lake of fire. I was watching in the night visions, and behold, one like the Son of Man, coming with the clouds of heaven. He came to the Ancient of Days, and they brought him near before him. Then to him was given dominion and glory and a kingdom, that all peoples, nations, and languages should serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion, which shall not pass away, and his kingdom the one which shall not be destroyed. This, of course, is describing the Son of Man coming in his kingdom, Christ's ascension into heaven, as described in Mark chapter 16 verse 19. I, Daniel, was grieved in my spirit within my body, and the visions of my head troubled me. I came near to one of those who stood by and asked him the truth of all this. So he told me and made known to me the interpretation of these things. Those beasts, those great beasts which are four kings, which arise out of the earth. But the saints of the Most High shall receive the kingdom and possess the kingdom forever and forever and ever. So that would be Christ coming with the saints to judge the world in righteousness, as described in Revelation chapter 2 verses 26 through 29 and Revelation chapter 19 verses 11 through 16. Then I wished to know the truth about the fourth beast, which was different from all the others, exceedingly dreadful, with its teeth of iron and its nails of bronze, which devoured, broke in pieces, and trampled the residue with its feet. And the 10 horns which were on its head, and the other horn which came up before which 3 fell, namely, that horn which had eyes, and a mouth which spoke pompous words, whose appearance was greater than his fellows. I was watching, and the same horn was making war with the saints, and prevailing against them. So this is because the beast will kill Christ's messengers, as described in Revelation chapter 11 verses 3 through 10, Revelation chapter 12 verses 3, 4, and 17, and Revelation chapter 13 verses 5 through 7. There it describes how this little horn, who's described as the beast in those chapters, will persecute the saints, speak pompous words as he blasphemes God, and prevail against them for a time. This will go on until the Ancient of Days came, and a judgment was made in favor for the saints of the Most High. And the time came for the saints to possess the kingdom. So the saints will possess the kingdom at the end of the tribulation, when Christ appears, as described in Revelation chapter 11 verses 11 through 19, and Revelation chapter 19, and also Revelation chapter 20 verses 4 through 6. Thus he said, "The 4th beast shall be a 4th kingdom on earth, which shall be different from all other kingdoms, and shall devour the whole earth, trample it, and break it in pieces. The 10 horns are 10 kings, who shall arise from this kingdom, and another shall arise after them. He shall be different from the first ones, and shall subdue 3 kings." So the rule of the 4th beast over the 10 kings and his war with 3 of those kings can be found in Revelation chapter 17 verses 11 through 13, and Daniel chapter 11 verses 40, 42, and 43. Those 3 kings would be the kings of Egypt, Libya, and Cush. He shall speak pompous words against the Most High, shall persecute the saints of the Most High, and shall intend to change times and law. Then the saints shall be given into his hand for a time, times, and half a time. But the court shall be seated, and they shall take away his dominion, to consume and destroy it forever. So the beast's blasphemy, persecution of the saints for 42 months, and his punishment by God are described in Revelation chapters 13 and 19. And when it describes him doing this for a time, times, and half a time, that would be a year for a time, 2 years for times, plural, and half a year for half a time, amounting to 3.5 years, that is lunar years, which amounts to 42 months. Then the kingdom and dominion, and the greatness of the kingdom under the whole heaven, shall be given to the people, the saints of the Most High. His kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and all kingdoms shall serve and obey him. So the reign of the saints can be found in Revelation chapters 19, 20, 21, and 22. This is the end of the account. As for me, Daniel, my thoughts greatly troubled me, and my countenance changed. But I kept the matter in mind, or I kept the matter in heart. As Peter wrote, it was not meant for Daniel, but for the followers of Christ to understand in the latter days. He says, of this salvation the prophets have inquired and searched carefully, who prophesied of the grace that will come to you, searching what manner of time the Spirit of Christ who was in them was indicating when he testified beforehand the sufferings of Christ and the glories that would follow. To them it was revealed that not to themselves but to us they were ministering the things which now have been reported to you, through those who have preached the gospel to you by the Holy Spirit sent from heaven, things which angels desire to look into. And in this the scripture agrees in Daniel chapter 12 verse 4, stating, but you, Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book until the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall increase. And that was when Christ came into the world preaching the gospel and revealing the mystery of his kingdom to the apostles. That's the time of the end. So he caused their knowledge to increase, and he also commissioned them to go to and fro, that is, into all the world, preaching the gospel, making disciples of all nations. As Jesus stated in Matthew chapter 13 verse 11, it has been given to you to know the mystery of the kingdom of heaven. And stated in Psalm chapter 25, the secret of the Lord is with those who fear him, and he shall show them his covenant. So again, this is Slave of Jesus Christ presenting Daniel chapter 7, 4 beasts and the little horn. Hope it's been a blessing. Thanks for listening. Grace and peace.